Okay, this is Unit 9. We're talking about chemical bonding. The first thing we're going to talk about is ionic bonding, which is something that we've talked about before in the last semester, but we're going to go into the specifics of it here. Electron configurations in ionic bonding, that is going to allow us to explain how electrons go from one to another. We're going to look at the valence electrons, which is the electrons in the highest occupied energy level. The highest occupied energy level is going to be the one that, let's say this is the nucleus of the atom, and we have electrons floating around in rings. Well, the valence electrons are going to be the ones floating around in the furthest energy level, the one farthest out. Those electrons allow us to form bonds. To find the number of valence electrons, you can look at the group number. So, if we look at group 1 here, it's going to have one valence electron, one s1. Now, we have second group, the alkaline earth metals. They're going to have one s2, two s2. That's going to be a 2 valence electron group. Now, we're going to skip the transitions. These are called group B elements. We're going to move on to 3. It says 3 here, but this is really 3A, and this would be 4A. Well, if you just follow the groups, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, it tells you how many valence electrons. Now, the noble gases are special. They have 8 valence electrons, and they are noble because they have a filled outer valence shell. So they don't actually bond with anything because they are filled. They're satisfied. They don't need anything. So, in class, we learned how to draw electron dot structures. This is a picture of the electron dot structure for argon. It's a system for representing only the valence. Remember, the ones that are in the farthest energy level outside the atom. So in argon, it has roughly 18 electrons, but the valence ones that are only shown here are 8. We only have 8. Okay, the guy that created this was named G.N. Lewis, and he devised this system in order for us to really figure out what's happening on the outer portion of the atom. So he allowed us to visualize on paper what's happening with the electrons in a chemical bond. So here's an example. We're going to look at the electron configuration for phosphorus. So if we're going through it, we have 1s2. 1, the first number, represents the energy level. 2 represents, the S represents the block that it's in on the table. So we have S, P, D, and F. Those are all the different blocks of the table. And the last number here is going to represent which electron we're talking about in that specific group. Okay. So we move on 2s2, 2p6, 3s2. We finish on 3p3. Now, 3p has the ability to go to 3p6. So in that outer energy level, if we look, 3 is our highest energy level. So in that highest energy level, the one that's furthest away from the nucleus, we have 2 electrons there and 3 electrons. So total we have 5 valence electrons for phosphorus. Now we can also look at it with orbital diagrams. So here are orbital diagrams. If we fill in the arrows, everything is going to be filled except for the 3p group. Like we said, it has the capacity to have 6 electrons here, but it doesn't. So what we need to do is look at how many there are to see the valence. 3s is the highest and 3p. Those are both in the third energy level. 2 electrons here, 3 electrons there. Once again, we have 5 valence electrons on phosphorus. So G.N. Lewis said, you know what? Let's not draw out electron configurations. Let's not draw out orbital diagrams. Instead, let's just put the letter P, and we're going to draw dots around it to represent the valence shell. Okay, it made it a little bit easier. So we practiced writing dot structures in class. So for magnesium, you look and it's in group 2. So we start at the top here when we're drawing dots. And I'm going to draw a little pretend square around this just to show you. We have 4 sides to put the dots on for these dot structures. We start at the top, and then we're going to work our way clockwise. So the next dot is going to go there. And we stop there because magnesium only has 2. Now let's move on to sulfur. Change colors. Sulfur here, if we look, it's in group 6A on the periodic table. So we start at the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, moving on to chlorine. Chlorine is in group 7A. You'll see that it's in group 17 on the periodic table, just like sulfur is actually in group 16. But we call it 6A and 7A because those are the representative elements. So chlorine has 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And when we get to the top, we double it up, just like I did on sulfur. And we overlap there. Okay? Those are called electron pairs. Rubidium, our B is in group 1. I have 1 dot. Silicone, Si is in group 4A, or the 14th group. 1, 2, 3, 4 electrons in the valence shell. And last but not least, argon, which we saw a picture of on the last slide. It's a noble gas. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It is filled. That is what it looks like when an atom has a filled valence shell. And that's why it doesn't bond with anything. It doesn't have any room. And it doesn't want to get rid of any. It's happy. It is satisfied. The octet rule is governing, is a rule that's used to govern bonding. All elements want to be like number 8. They want to have 8 electrons. So to achieve this, things are going to be lost, electrons are going to be gained. It just depends on the situation. Now, not all elements want to have 8. If you look at the first row of the periodic table, hydrogen and helium are in the first row, the first energy level, and there is no p block. So all they have to work with is the s, which is only capable of hosting 2 valence electrons. So these two are exceptions, and we'll learn about those later. But for now, we just want you to know that the octet rule is what governs most atoms. Metals typically lose and become positive. Okay, metals typically lose electrons. I want you to write in there cations. Those are cations, and they are positively charged. So we're going to look at a Lewis dot structure for positive ions. But first, let's check out the orbital diagram for sodium. If we look, 1s2, 2s2, we have 2p6, that's filled, and then we have 3s. So in the highest energy level, 3, we have 1. So sodium has 1 valence electron. So to get to this octet rule, what is sodium going to have to do? Well, it has 2 choices. It can either lose this 1 electron, or it can pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 electrons. Which one's going to be easier? Well, if it was me and I had to choose, I'd rather just lose the 1 electron. And that's what it's going to do. This should say in A+. So when it loses that electron, it's going to become positively charged. So you'll notice that there is no electron here in that outer energy level. So because it lost, look at what happens. Now our highest energy level is 2. And if we count, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we got to that octet rule. Okay. Now we're going to look at what happens with a nonmetal. Nonmetals typically gain electrons, and that's where we get the term anions. Anions, and they are negatively charged. So here, if we look at the highest energy level for oxygen, we have 2 there, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 plus 2, right now, oxygen has 6 valence electrons. Doesn't that make sense? I mean, it's in group 6A. So what's oxygen going to do? It has a couple choices. It can either lose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to get back down to a filled valence, or it can just pick up 2, 1 here and 1 there. So if it was me, I would choose just picking up 2. So oxygen is going to gain 2 electrons. So this is going to be O, and it's not just going to pick up 1, it's going to pick up 2. So it's going to be a 2 minus charge. So here, we're going to show that oxygen now has 2, 4, 6, 8 in its highest energy level, 2. So it has satisfied the octet rule. That is for an anion. So electron dot symbols, Lewis dot structures can be used to represent ions. So we're going to show the transfer, and I want y'all to write that in if you didn't. Ionic bonds transfer electrons. What we're going to learn is that the other types of bonds have different characteristics on how they share or gain or transfer electrons. So here's sodium. Let's go ahead and draw on the dot. Sodium's in group 1. Chlorine is in group 7. Fluorine is also in group 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Magnesium is in group 2. Oxygen is in group 6A, and then aluminum is in group 3A. So it has 3. So let's see what happens. Sodium is going to lose 1. So what's going to happen is that guy is going to go away, and sodium is going to become positively charged. Chlorine is 1 short of the octet rule. It's going to pick up an electron, and it's going to have 8 electrons. And it's going to become negatively charged. Fluorine's the same way. They're both halogens, and they're going to pick up 1 electron to become negatively charged. Magnesium, if it had its choice, it could pick up 6 or lose 2, and I think magnesium would choose to lose 2. Oxygen is going to gain 2, just like our example on the previous slide. When we draw it, it should have 8 electrons on the outside, and it will become 2 minus. And the last example will be aluminum here. Aluminum is going to elect to lose 3 electrons to become 3 plus. And that is all for part 1. That is how we represent ionic compounds with Lewis dot structures. Thank you.